host, Renee Kranz. In the studio with me today, we have a really fun interview. This is Jerry Buettner. He is the new CFO for the Diocese of Sioux Falls. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. We like to introduce some of the new people who come into the Chancery. And Jerry, when did you start? A month ago? Has it been a month?
Just over a month now.
Just over a month. Joined us, replacing Scott Johnson, who was with us for 2 or 3 years. We loved Scott, but Jerry's here, and he brings in a very different personality. Fun, outgoing, I would say, funny. Loves to tell stories. So if we get to the 20 minutes without going over, we'll be in shock, right?
I will be.
Okay, so Jerry, this is going to be good to get to know you. Will you just start by telling us a little bit about where you grew up, family, work, that kind of stuff? We know your work, but...
Yeah, I'm a Nebraska kid. Grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. Okay. Went to Lincoln Pius X. Go Bolts. Lived in Lincoln until I met my a girlfriend, who's now my wife, Michelle. Moved to Omaha shortly after meeting her.
Okay.
Worked at that time. I was working for State Farm Insurance. I was an auto adjuster. Took the opportunity to work in a field office. Did that. Michelle and I shortly got engaged. It was kind of funny. My parents sent me to World Youth Day in Germany because they thought I was going to be a priest. And so they sent me there to discern priesthood, and it's there I figured out I really missed my girlfriend and knew I wanted to marry her. So that was great, too. So I did discern a vocation. It just happened to be marriage, so it was wonderful.
Sure.
Michelle and I got married in 2007. Look at me, I remembered it.
Look at you.
And from there, a couple years later, we had our first and only child, Jack. He's 13 years old now.
Nice.
He is an 8th grader in middle school here in town, and big kid, loves football. Michelle is a school teacher for Ben Rifle Middle School. She works with the English learners as they come in, so the newcomers, so the kids that are literally just coming into the country, she gets to work with them, so I always have lots of great stories.
Oh, I bet.
I'm always afraid she's going to take one home. No, she just loves them so much. So it's wonderful. So I love that part about her.
Yeah.
And she's been a teacher since I've known her.
Yeah.
So
what brought you guys to Sioux Falls?
At the time I was working for a place called Farm Credit Services of America. And at the time I was an underwriter in Omaha for them. And I was the one extrovert in a sea of introverts. And I think they wanted me off the team more than anything.
He is bugging us.
He's really loud. Those guys would wear headphones that I always joke, but there was no music. They were just blocking me out. And then they had visors on so they couldn't see me. And I started working on what's called special assets. So I was working with farms that were in trouble, that maybe were going to be going under.
Sure.
Help them set up budgets, restructure their debt, reorganize, whatever we could to get them through. Unfortunately, too, that also meant some foreclosures and litigation and stuff like that. But not very many of those, which I'm pretty proud of. Most of the time we were able to find a way to fix them.
Good.
And then after doing that in Sioux Falls, when they moved us up here to do that job, we said, okay, 3 years, and we don't have to stay in this stupid town of Sioux Falls any longer.
South Dakota.
We didn't want to live here. Her parents lived in Yankton since we met, and it was kind of the joke that we were going to be there 3 years and come back to Omaha. And on the day that I was offered a position basically to look for whatever I wanted in Omaha, I gave my time for the company. I went to my wife and son and said, they want me back. And she kind of looked sad. And my son, this was during COVID, and my son looked really sad. I think he was a 4th grader. He was really disappointed. And they're like, we kind of like it here. And I did too. And by divine providence, I guess, a recruiter called me that day. And that's how I ended up at my last job, First Bank and Trust. So the day I was offered to move back to Omaha, we knew that we loved Sioux Falls. Yeah. This was home. We loved our parish. We go to St. Michael's. We didn't want to lose a lot of those relationships that we just really started building. I mean, it takes a while to build that trust and everything.
Yep.
I think especially in Sioux Falls where we have a lot of people moving in, there's always that little bit of apprehension. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And they realize we are good people.
Yeah.
So we stayed. I worked then for First Bank and Trust, did the same kind of work for them, started the team. They had never had that at the bank, and I did that the last 4.5 years before I started here.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I'm glad you're here. We need some we have lots of outgoing people.
You do.
But it's good, especially in the Chancery. Okay, so what role has faith played in your life? Were you cradle Catholic? What's your story?
Yeah,
Jerry?
definitely. Grew up Catholic, went to St. Mary's Grade School. It's downtown Lincoln, Nebraska, right across the street from the beautiful Capitol. Might have snuck off every once in a while. I used to have a commissary in there when I was in middle school to grab some candy and then run back when I got back from the school. And then we went to daily mass. And I actually was just talking about it every day. I don't know what it was, but I loved being an altar boy. And I think it's for a long time I thought I was going to be a priest. And so I would serve the 8 o'clock mass with the students, and then I would always volunteer to serve the 12:10 mass.
Oh, nice.
Which I just loved. And I thought it was really cool that I could receive communion twice a day. I thought, what an incredible privilege.
Yeah.
High school, same kind of deal. Everybody the nickname was Bishop. Everybody thought I was going to be a priest or a bishop. Very outgoing, loved my faith, knew a lot about it, always could win at the trivia contest. Just got into my religion classes.
Yeah. I could actually see you as a priest, honestly.
I probably could have been. I still look at the diaconate, though.
Yeah.
But I realized when I missed my girlfriend so much and now being a dad, I couldn't imagine not being those two things now. It's just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and I think maybe that's why I coach too.
Yeah.
Just because I love having more people in my family than just my nuclear family, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of the priesthood. I think that, yes, you'll never get married, you'll never have those kids, but you have a whole incredible congregation that can serve as your family too. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you really do. So on that topic of coaching, you're very involved with youth. You're a football coach.
Yes.
Were you a football coach before you came to Sioux Falls, or was that new when you came here?
No, I did it in my probably early to mid 20s, 4 or 5 years. I did youth football in Lincoln, had the same group of kids, had a blast with them, got to know them, and they're all in their mid 30s now, which is just hilarious. And sometimes I run into them or I see them on the internet. And a lot of them are doing really well, and it makes me happy. Wasn't the head coach, just took a backwards role, always coached offensive line and offense, just had a blast teaching them, and really enjoyed teaching middle school. When we were there, then when my son was born, I coached youth soccer, like preschool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just herding cats, let's be honest. If they kicked it down the hill, all the kids went running for it. We had a blast. It was fun. I know nothing about soccer.
Right.
So
they don't either.
They don't either, and just had fun and loved it. And then when we moved up here, did a little bit of flag football because my son was into it. Not too much though. And then when he started playing junior football here, they asked for me to be the head coach. I was like, oof, I don't know anything about football at that level, and ended up doing it and had a horrible record both years. But that was never my goal. It was always about, I just wanted those. It was young men, I would say, but in my second year, I did have a young lady on my team. She was awesome. She was the toughest girl, toughest boy. If she was the boy, she's just toughest kid. But I loved her to death. And I realized a lot of these kids don't realize that they're loved. And so I just made it a point to tell the kids every day I love them, teach them how to be good citizens, how to win when we very few times we did, but really how to lose properly and just how to be gracious in everything we do and how to be a team player. And it was kind of my goal by the end of the season. I kind of always had the bad news bears in a way because I had kids from everywhere. They weren't from all the same school. They didn't have that. So like the last year, I remember 14 kids, 7 schools.
Okay. So it's not a school team.
No,
it's like
it's just a junior football. It's just kids from the city, and I'm not on the board. I don't have really a means or connection to kind of pick kids, handpick or anything like that. So I just took what they gave me and had a blast. But by the end of the seasons, they were playing and having fun. I was like, to me, the joy came because they learned how to work together. And when Jack went to middle school, I asked him if he wanted me to coach at the middle school level, and he said no. So my wife.
No, please.
He said I was actually glad. I could want him to have other mentors in his life. So my wife connected me with who was the offensive line coach at Roosevelt High School. And then he quit on me. Tyler, if you're listening, I'm sorry I said that. He's now the athletic director for Edison. Great guy. And so my son is still very closely associated with him, but ended up working with just an incredible staff. And we had a coaching change this last year, and just a great group of guys. Love it. In fact, a lot of us are getting together for a Bible study, which I just love. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it sounds like without necessarily talking about your faith directly, you bring your faith into the coaching. Would you say that's true?
I think that's really important that you do, and that's why I like this coaching group so much. A lot of us, our faith is really just an important part of us. Not all of us are Catholic. We all come from different backgrounds, which is probably okay for the boys' sake. But they know that I work for the Catholic Church, so they actually ask questions and things like that, and you can freely talk about it. I mean, we're not in such a, I would say, we're still fairly conservative in South Dakota, so we can have those conversations. I will tell you what I love is before the game, when it's prayer time, the majority of the boys are all out there. We had one kid this year that actually took it upon himself to come up with a little sermon or homily to really just service, and it was great. And there's a traditional football prayer that's out there. You can look it up online, and it kind of gets you pumped up and stuff. And we used to pray it too, and I love it. And I love that so many of the boys are into that. So, as coaches, we're father figures, right?
Yeah, you are.
And we see it just as important to make sure they grow up to get to heaven, and they're good citizens and they're good dads. And again, as coaches, we tell them all we love them. And I think people think that's crazy. As football coaches, they expect we yell a lot, and I might swear a little too, so that's not good. But mostly, they just need to know I love them.
Yeah,
and that's huge to me.
Yeah, you're forming young men there.
Yeah, we are.
And it's important to form all aspects. So you have a huge impact. I mean, I think many young men would say their coaches were one of the most influential people in their lives. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It was for me,
Yeah.
looking back. And that was a lot of my faith formation going back to that. We're having very spiritual-minded coaches. And love that about my education. That was just a part of it. You know, Mary Queen of Victory, which is also my pastorate, which I love, was just something that we said after every prayer. We asked for her intercession. It didn't necessarily mean that we wanted to win, although we did.
Sure.
It was about being safe. But again, it's about winning in the fairest way possible. You know, keeping it within those limits and stuff. And that's when you watch TV now, that's very hard to see when you see players not shaking hands. The fights that are going on, trying to plant flags in the middle. Those are all really fun things to rile up the side, but getting so angry that you actually think you need to fight somebody, this is stuff that we have to address with high school boys. This is not okay. This isn't how men act.
Right.
We think it is, but it's that idea of revenge now. Everybody's like, well, they wronged me, so I wronged them. And it's like, that's the complete opposite of what we're told in the gospel. That's what made Jesus so revolutionary. So he told you to turn the other cheek. He didn't say eye for an eye. And we have to teach the boys the same thing.
Yeah. It's really, that's why it's so important to have coaches that have a good faith background to really help form those kids to not be the ones fighting in the NFL or in the college games, which we're seeing lately. So
a lot.
Yeah. Okay, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Jerry Buettner, who is the new CFO for the Diocese of Sioux Falls. So, Jerry, what made you decide to apply for the CFO position?
So I can't do this interview without mentioning my wife.
Of course.
Several months before I actually interviewed for the position, she was looking for me. She knew that with my last position, I was getting burned out. It was becoming increasingly difficult. Realizing that we're going to be going into another economic downturn, possibly. And that's a difficult part of my job. So she saw this job, and she's like, oh, my gosh, Jerry, look, you can work for the Diocese of Sioux Falls as a CFO. And I looked at the description, and every other word was CPA. CPA.
You're like, uh-oh.
And I'm like, honey, I am not a CPA. Those people are smart. I'm a finance guy. We make up ratios just to make it look good. You know, we'll finagle things to make it work, but it's very different. I'm more of an operations kind of guy. And she didn't know what I meant by that, but she said, I think you should apply for it. I think you cut yourself short all the time. And I was like, I think I'll just hold off. And a couple months went by, and I get a call from a recruiter out of Tennessee, and it was Will. And Will was great, and he just started talking to me about the position. I said, I saw that position, but they want a CPA. He's like, yeah, I don't know. And I said, well, yeah, here's my resume. I'll throw my name in the hat. And I walked in. I'll remember I got my interview. I was surprised I even got an interview because, again, it's that CPA. And in my mind, I'm doubting that. And sometimes I think that's just, I don't know if that's me or the devil just kind of playing, you can't do it. You can't do it, right? And in this case, I'm kind of figuring out it might have been the devil. a little bit,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want people to lead the church.
Well, and he wanted to keep you in a place where you were unhappy.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not even that I was unhappy, because I did love the people I
Right.
worked with, but I also knew that if I wasn't going to be, I couldn't do that position any longer.
Right.
So I needed an opportunity somewhere else within the bank.
Yeah.
And the bank knew that too.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a secret, but I had two great bosses. The leadership there was fantastic to me.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of guilt too
Sure.
that I'm doing this,
Yeah.
but I get the interview and I sit in it. And when I get home, my wife called me up. She goes, "How'd it go?" And I said, "You know what? I walked in that building and everybody was joyful. Like there was just, everybody's happy, but it's a different kind of joy. Like you can have great days in an office, but,
Yeah.
and I still haven't seen like where people aren't happy here. I've seen people have bad days now. I've been here long enough, but there is a true joy
Yeah.
here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the bishop seeing your position as a ministry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I then went through, I said, well, it went well, but not a CPA. And that came out in the interview. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a second interview, and I felt really good after that one. And then I didn't hear anything, and I didn't hear anything. And then I got a third interview, and I was like, and there was going to be a fourth that day. And I remember calling up my sister, she's a nun down in the Diocese of Lincoln.
Yeah.
She's like, "Jerry, the church works slow."
Yep.
I was like, okay.
Yes, we do.
And I said, okay, because I'm used to when somebody says to do something, you have it done yesterday.
Right.
And so then I do that third and fourth interview that same day. And then it was a couple weeks later before I finally heard anything. I was like, oh, I didn't get it. I haven't heard anything. They're just waiting on the guy to accept it. So it was really funny when I got the position. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I had some discerning to do on my own.
Oh, yep.
But holy cow, what a wonderful opportunity it's been. And just look forward to coming to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's going to get more difficult here as we get into budget season and those kind of things.
Yes.
But the leadership team, our BLT, hopefully someday I'm the bacon is what I tell my wife. Never the lettuce or tomato, right?
Right.
Nobody likes vegetables. So, but those kind of things, just love being a part of this group and really just sharing my knowledge and my experiences. Has been just, it's brought me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
So,
What do you hope to bring to your new position here?
you know, it's always about perspective, right? I
Yeah.
came from the outside.
Yeah.
I maybe have a little bit more. I'm already seeing things that I'd like to change. But you don't want to rock the boat right when you come in.
Not right away.
Right? No. Maybe give it a little shake every
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah.
There are things that I see that financially we can do, you know, just simple as investing money that's kind of sitting out there, get a little bit more return on it. We're blessed to have an excess right now, or a black budget instead of the red,
Yes.
like some dioceses I know. And so we're really blessed in that standpoint. And coming from where I did before, it's really nice. I kind of joke not having those parentheses all over a balance sheet. It's really nice for me to have that. But that means the responsibility that comes with that, and making sure that we're tending to the gifts that we are given as best we can, and applying those funds as best we can to make sure we get the most growth out of it and apply it towards the ministries that need it most. So I do take that there's a lot of, even on my end, I'm learning the discernment and prayer is becoming a very regular part of how I'm looking at these budgets, which I don't know if I would have done when I was at the bank. Right. But maybe I should have.
Sure. Yeah, because you can bring that there too.
You can bring it anywhere.
It doesn't exist only in the diocese.
Right. And I love that. So that's something maybe I can offer to somebody that's out there.
Yeah.
That, hey, you can do, it wouldn't hurt to bring God into that conversation.
Yeah.
Having those tough conversations. I would think the one thing that I see that probably needs to be more pastoral is the idea that the church is universal, that Catholic and just the word, the lowercase, is universal. It's in our creed.
Yeah.
And we share that creed with even other faiths.
Yep.
And I think it's important that people see, sometimes it gets difficult to see beyond our parish.
Yeah.
If you've been in that same church for a long time and your family's been a part of that church, it becomes even more difficult. And I think with the pastorate that we're in, I can see those struggles in the emails and in the calls and things like that. I know it's going to take some changes of heart to make some of the changes we want to make financially, but I know we can do it as a diocese.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
good people. And I think, but again, it's seeing your church beyond that parish.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere in the world and know what's going on in Mass, even if you don't know
Yes,
the
yes.
language. And that's the most beautiful thing about our faith.
Yeah, agreed. Jerry, we have like a minute. Do you have a saint that you usually turn to?
Maximilian Kolbe is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I love his generosity.
Yeah.
Obviously, giving up his life
Yeah.
to the Father.
Yeah.
As a dad, that speaks so loudly to me. As a person that loves history, and he's so close to us in time. You know,
Yes.
he seems so just relative. And as I get deeper into him, his writings are absolutely amazing.
Oh, I haven't read any of his.
He is so brilliant, and his devotion to Mary and all that, I really am starting to learn about. I'm trying to delve into it more. Just an incredible saint. Had we had another child, if we were able, I would have named him Maximilian Kolbe if it was a boy. So when we got our dog, my son was in kindergarten. He goes, "Dad, why don't we name him Maximilian Kolbe?" So we actually have Max the dog, and so we named him after him. The other one I love is St. Francis.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him. He, the Prayer of St. Francis, my grandma used to sing that song at her piano for us and love it. I got fond memories of that. And that was always in our house, and I actually have that thing that my mom made for them as well then in our house, in our guest bedroom, because I just make me a channel of your peace. And I just absolutely love that.
Yeah. I kind of see that in you. So, Jerry, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming in and telling us about yourself and sharing your experiences and your faith with people of the diocese. We really look forward to getting to know you more and working with you here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
This was fun.
Good. If you haven't explored the idea of going to Christmas at the Cathedral this year, you can always go to the the Catholic Community Foundation's website, ccfesd.org, to look at tickets. That is coming up very quickly, so do that soon. That's it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.